piece of that action. And that's how they get paid. And that gives them the incentive to promote your launch and promote it multiple times, because they're going to make anywhere from $500 to $20,000 or $30,000 by promoting the launch of your new book, which is attached to the launch of a course on how to do launches. Jeff Walker has, I don't know, he's multiple millionaire because of what he knows about launches and what he teaches about launches. And so he wrote a book to help to promote his launches when he's not doing a launch. And he got the partners because he was able to pay them with an upsell. The neat thing about Tim was with 4-Hour Work Week is that he didn't have to pay. They were happy to promote it because they loved the book. And he had created relationships with all these people by attending conferences. So I do encourage you at some point to get to a conference in your area, or even a national conference if you can't go to your local area. But there are writer conferences in every major city in the country, and in a lot of smaller cities. Taos used to have a summer writer series where about 300 or 400 authors would come every summer. And I spoke, I don't know, 4 or 5 times at that conference. Got to meet a lot of wonderful people that way. And, you know, so those are some of the things that you can do as an author to start to build relationships. If you can't attend at conferences, because again, there aren't that many live conferences yet, then join Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. The main reason I think to belong in LinkedIn is to join the groups that are relevant to you. There are author groups for almost every category of author. There must be at least 10 or 15 poet groups for poets. Certainly there are fiction writer groups on LinkedIn, other kinds of author groups on LinkedIn. And that's the main reason I joined LinkedIn, was to become members of some of the groups. But I really don't do much with LinkedIn because you have to prioritize, you have to choose which sites are going to produce the best results for you. And for me, that has been Pinterest. So that's where most of my attention is. If I was trying to approach a professional audience only, I'd be on LinkedIn because that's where the professional audience is. If I'm appealing to people that love to read, I'd be, you know, there are about, I think about at least 20 Facebook groups of readers, people that love to read books and or write books. And actually, I did a newsletter post on that as well. Let's see if I did it recently, and I shared with people on this whole list of Facebook groups you could join. I think I probably put that into my paid subscription, but maybe not. I've been doing, a friend of mine wrote this series of, one blog post, Brian Feinblum did it on 22 things that book authors should do in 2022. And I like that idea. So what I did is I took his post of the 22 ways and I expanded on each of the ideas. So each blog post has 3 of the ideas, 2 or 3 of the ideas. And I go into more detail with them. And one of them he wrote on, he said, you should join Facebook. And so I wrote about that, and I can't remember which one of the posts it was. And it may be that was one that I gave away free. Let's see if that's this one. Like he said, one action was to launch a video channel, guest post, get interviewed by things, add guest posted. So that isn't it. But there's one way he talked about Facebook. And so I shared the Facebook ideas in that post. And I wish I could figure out which one it was right now. Uh, maybe it was episode 3. I did it as a podcast. So a lot of them I shared. Yep, it's a freebie. So you don't have to pay to get into it. And I'm going to link to it right here in the chat. So you can go read that. I list, I don't know, about 30 Facebook groups of writers with 30,000 members or more. I think the biggest group has 322,000 members. The nice thing about belonging to some of these writers groups is that they allow you to post and ask questions. So you could say, you could ask a question, how do I market a poetry book? You know, I just published this new book on the bomb that something God, I forget the title, Freddie. Hold up your book. The bomb that blew up God, you know, and I'm wondering if you could help me with any ideas you might have for how to promote a poetry book like that. And you'd probably get a dozen answers in some of these groups. So you might join some of them. The links to how to join them are all there in that post, and it's a freebie post. The link is in the chat. So you're welcome to use it. It's a long list, and it isn't all the groups that I have listed that I know about. But it's a nice way to start, and I would encourage you to belong to some writers groups, just as a way to start to create the relationships that you might want, where you interview people. So you might go to one of those writers groups and say, I need some guests for my podcast I want to start. And my podcast is called the Brilliant Poets Podcast, or, the Fiction Writers Podcast, or something like that. Or the How to Write a Series podcast, something like that. So, whatever you name it. And I need guests. Are any of you willing to come on and be a guest on my podcast? I have a small audience now, but I hope to build it. And over the years, it's going to get bigger and bigger, and more people will discover your interview. Please let me know. Email me at blah, blah, blah. And you'll be surprised how many relationships you might be able to create. You might also say, how many of you are fiction writers who have written a series of novels, and how have you promoted them? I'm looking for partners to help me promote my series, and I'd love to promote other series authors with their books. Something like that. Or some of those Facebook groups are children's book authors, and I think at least one or two are cookbook author groups. So you could again go in and say, I'd like to promote my cookbooks on cooking with rattlesnakes. I don't know the titles of any of your books, Marjorie, so I'm just having to invent one. And quite honestly, I would not buy a book on cooking with rattlesnakes. It's just not my taste. Though I hear they taste like chicken.
They do taste like chicken.
Yeah. So, but again, you could ask. That's what these groups are for, is for people to ask. So you do them a favor, and you may end up with them doing you a favor. So if you say, look, I'm looking for some series authors to interview for my podcast, would any of you be interested in being one of my guests? Now, if somebody emails you and says, yes, I'd love to be interviewed, once you interview them for your podcast and you put it up, you might email them back and say, do you do a podcast? I'd love to be interviewed by you. I had so much fun interviewing you. I would love it if you could interview me for one of your podcasts or Facebook Live sessions or Zoom sessions or whatever. And, again, no matter what category you're writing in, there are groups on Facebook that are devoted to that category, which you can join and then become a part of and ask questions and start to form relationships and partnerships and help each other promote each other's books. There's a neat little thing you can do on Amazon that I don't know if you know about, where you can create a collection of books and offer them for sale. Now, I know you can do it for your own books, but I think you can also do it where you put together 5 or 6 books by other authors and you make it a collection that's sold on Amazon with your affiliate link. So every time that collection is sold, say people buy 10 poetry books in that collection, and your book is one of those 10 books or 5 books or 4 books, whatever price point you want to set, you may find that it becomes a moneymaker for you, not only selling your book, but helping you get income for the entire collection. I would certainly try that, and I might do it. Like if I was doing poetry, Freddie, I might sell 5 really famous poets' books in that collection and my book. So you associate yourself as a poet with these other famous poets in this collection. And you make money if you're an affiliate of Amazon every time you refer people to that collection. It isn't hard to become an affiliate on Amazon and make some money for every sale that somebody makes on a book that you refer people to.
So the gateway is then becoming an affiliate at Amazon, right?
Yeah, I think it's affiliate.amazon.com, but I'm not sure.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you can become an affiliate. And every time you recommend a book, you can use your affiliate link to send people to Amazon to buy that book, whether it's your book or somebody else's book.
Right.
And I do that every time I list a book on my blog. It has my affiliate link attached to it. So if somebody buys from it, I don't make a lot of money on it. Amazon affiliate payments are not that high unless you're selling, $1,000 speakers on Amazon or something like that. But it's a nice little extra income, and it's a way to promote your books and promote other people's books where you're getting a small piece of the action. And I need to look into that collection, how to create a collection a little bit more on Amazon to find out how it works exactly. So I think I need to end now. So thank those of you who's hung in till the end. I really appreciate you coming. You asked great questions. You inspired me to talk about a lot of interesting and fun things about marketing books, and hopefully you'll do it. And now, for those of you who subscribe to the paid version of my newsletter, I do these Q&A sessions anywhere from 1 to 3 times a month. So if you wanted to have ongoing questions with me as you're marketing, join the paid version of my newsletter. Not only will you learn about Substack and podcasting and a lot of other things, but you'll get these Q&A sessions for free.
I have a question about podcasting.
Yeah.
Most of my things are so visual. Being a clothing designer and a knitwear designer, you almost have to demonstrate. You have to show pictures, step-by-step pictures of that. So
Yeah.
I'm having a little
So
issue.
you would do a video podcast.
Okay, so they do have video podcasts.
Yeah, they're called podcasts. You'll see them. I watched this one podcast that a guy does about Minnesota Viking football because I was from Minnesota, and the Vikings, losers that they are, is the team that I follow. So he actually does during the football season. He does 3 or 4 episodes a day as videos. but it's a podcast.
Okay.
He doesn't, I don't think he syndicated it as audio, but then I would recommend that you, if you do something like that as a video, and let's say you do it once a week, something like that, put it up on YouTube, but also put it up on Vimeo. Just in case you don't know how vimeo.com and rumble.com. I'd really encourage those of you that are sharing videos to really think about Rumble at this point, because it's new. So it's sort of like the frontier days of YouTube when any video went up, went viral. It's not quite true of Rumble, but it's like you can stand out. Some people think of Rumble, it's like they pitch themselves as a free speech platform, because so many people have been knocked off of YouTube because they talk about COVID and they give misinformation, like cloth masks don't work. And they don't. Now I won't be able to put this video up on YouTube.
You could edit
But
that far out.
but anyway, Rumble pitches itself as a free speech platform. So there's a lot of political videos there, but the top videos on Rumble are dog videos.
So is it RUMBLE?
Yeah, I put it there, the link in the chat.
Thank you so much for doing
So,
that.
and the Vimeo. I would look at least those sites, but you know that you can also put your video up on Pinterest.
Yes, I've done that.
So you'd syndicate it there as well. You might put it up on Facebook. You can post your videos there. So you can syndicate it to 5 or 10 different social media networks and platforms like Rumble and Vimeo and YouTube, and share it that way. It can be a way to do a podcast that's only video. Now, your children's books, if you wanted to promote them, you might do something like my Tell Me a Story podcast that's audio only. But there was something I did. I looked at YouTube, and I saw all these people reading children's books on YouTube. And it wasn't just the authors. There were a lot of people that read books on YouTube and build up a significant following, like 30,000, 40,000 followers or more, that watch almost every one of those videos. So you might want to, at some point, check out those YouTube videos, people that review children's books or cookbooks or poetry books. And maybe they read a poetry from a poetry book that they love or they just discovered, and they put it up on YouTube. And maybe they get 10, 20,000, 100,000 views. And then, you've got something that's going to do very well for you. So if you find readers, people who are reading books or reviewing books or talking about books on YouTube, and there are a lot of them, you may find that that's a good partnership to make, and tell them, you can usually contact them through YouTube, their YouTube channel, so that you can connect with them and say, I would love it if you would review my poetry book or my cookbook or my children's book or whatever it might be, or fiction book. Or for children's books, they can actually do the reading, because the children's book can be read in 5 or 10 minutes. My book, 700 pages, is going to be, a 5-week marathon. I don't know. But, that is something that could be a possibility in terms of creating partnerships that could maybe be significant. And my bet is, Marjorie, that as you share the things that you're creating some things.
I actually am a knitwear designer, and I make and sell the knits. And so I've had a little hiccup on Facebook. Somebody decided that I shouldn't be successful. So every time I post something, she immediately badmouths me. So I've never sold anything to her, don't know her, have absolutely, she doesn't have anything of mine, so she has no way of knowing. But
And she posts on your post?
she
She
used,
comments on your post?
she used to, but until I blocked her from my groups. But other people that are in my groups get her the word, and so then she gets the word out to the rest of the machine knitting community. And so it's been quite a challenge.
That's really too bad when you get somebody like that. I had a stalker like that. He didn't like, he had used the name of a friend of mine, the actor, comedian, Andy Kaufman, who I knew. And this guy created a fake Andy Kaufman profile on Twitter. And I told him, "You're not Andy. Andy would never say something like that." And he decided to just attack me. And for the next 3 or 4 weeks, he was calling me fat, impotent. I forget all the words he used, but he was spamming me forever. That John Kremer is just a fat man who doesn't know anything. He's a liar. He's a whatever. The thing is, Twitter doesn't help you with those things.
Yeah, and Facebook doesn't either.
And that's hate speech to me. That's real hate speech. When people are personally attacking you in that way. And both Facebook and Twitter that's what they should be monitoring, rather than people who are saying something politically that they may not agree with. That would be a much better service to me in terms of keeping Facebook clean, because I can choose who I follow on Facebook. So if I don't want to hear that political messages, I don't have to follow the person. So I won't see it. If there's somebody out there, talking about COVID misinformation, whatever, I don't have to follow them.
Right.
But I can't unfollow somebody that's commenting on my thing and saying nasty things about me. I do that some on Facebook. I'll delete their comments if it's offensive to me.
Right.
You can do that, but I hate doing that because, that's not the real nature of a social network. But there's some people that really don't understand what it means to be social.
She's getting her 15 minutes of fame, I guess. And
yeah,
that's why she keeps doing it.
Yeah, and it's really too bad. And there's not much, we can do to control that, but we just have to move on. And, that's what I did with that one guy on Twitter. I just ignored him. Once I started to ignore him, and he then gave up. As long as I fed him, he kept wanting to be nasty.
Mm-hmm.
So, that can happen, and it's just part of how we live in a social networking world. But I still think social networking is great. And I do know people through social networks that have sold even 1 million copies mainly through Facebook. I wish I could track down that guy because I forget who it was. But I know he was mainly selling through Facebook ads and Facebook groups and doing an incredible job. I would love to use his example, but I don't remember who it was now. And I've lost the information because I'd love to share that story. Now, my one client that writes the romance novels and the sexy romance and children's books, she sold over 750,000 copies on Amazon. One is a series of books called the Bad Mothers series. I love the title. I mean, I think it's a great series. The Bad Mother goes on holiday, the Bad Mother's Christmas, the Bad Mother's whatever. And I read one of the books and it looks really interesting. And, so she sold a good number. And she only hired me because she says, I want to get over 1 million. I want to get, the 2 or 3 million books. So can you help me? And I said, I think I can. So, I've been coaching her, just started. So we'll see how that goes. I hope to call her one of my success stories.
Cool. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, it would be fun to share it. But, I loved what she did in terms of trying to create a relationship with her readers. I read that little interlude page that she put in there. And, that's one of her tricks I'm going to steal. Because I think it's a good idea. I think it's good to put it in the middle of the book and at the end of the book. But I think at least in the middle of the book too, to surprise people. Oh, you might not know, but I really do like the people that bought my book, and I really would like to create a relationship with them. Can we talk? Whatever. So I'm going to do that from my prayer book. I'm going to invite people to ask for prayer and do that in the interlude and say, I really did that. About once a year, I go on Facebook and I say, does anybody need a prayer today? And people will respond, and then I'll pray for them. There are groups on Facebook that are devoted to prayer, which I think is neat too. But some of them they're more self-promotional than they are actually serving people. So I sort of ignore those groups. So anyway, now we've gone 3 hours. So now I have to stop because my wife is probably wondering if I'm still alive. And my dogs are definitely interested, wanting to know what happened to John.
Thanks for spending part of your birthday with us. We really appreciate that.
I always try to give something away on my birthday. So I've done for the last 10 or 15 years, I've always done a webinar on my birthday. I used to share my birthday cake with people. I often didn't get a piece myself, but everybody else did.
Well, John, you have been hugely inspiring, and I really thank you for all the tips and the bon mots that you have been given, and I will follow up on those. Thank you so much.
Now, I'll ask a question of you guys, just one last question. Do you think I should post this as 1 3-hour video, or should I break it up into pieces?
I would break it up personally.
Break it up, break it up. Nobody's gonna listen to 3 hours. Just
1 hour videos or 20-minute videos?
Half hour.
Half hour?
Yeah.
The new thing on YouTube are those YouTube shorts. I posted a YouTube short by accident. It was like 2 minutes long and it got like a lot of views. People love these 1-minute clips now.
As short as
Okay.
possible.
All right, so I'll do some of all of that. So thank you again for being here, sharing what you're doing, asking questions, and helping to make this a useful video for other people as well.
Super. You
Thank
have a
you.
great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Let us have that video that you're going to put together, the half hour or 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, it'll be in my
I'd love to have
newsletter.
it. Yeah.
So if you subscribe to my newsletter, the free version, you'll get these every one of these videos that I put up.
I see. Okay.
If you want to have more of this experience during the year, you sign up for the paid version of the newsletter.
Okay.
So anyway, thanks a lot for being here, and the 3 of you who stuck around to the end. That's amazing.
You always have just that one more tidbit.
I know. So I'm shutting up now. I'm going to stop recording.